Hello, everyone. How are you doing? And welcome to another episode of the Dr. Will Show, where I interview educators and entrepreneurs on leveling up. Each week, I zoom in someone who's dope. We have a conversation on what it means to live your best life. This episode, I am here with Jessie Boyce.
Hi, everyone.
Look at her. She's doing her thing with Microsoft and other things. We missed each other at ISTE. Don't know how that happened. If you didn't go, in the past of ISTE, in my experience, Microsoft was there. But this past ISTE, Microsoft moved in. I mean, that booth and the amount of space they took up and the virtual reality and other stuff they were doing, I was like, Microsoft was like, we're coming in with the big stick this year. It was nice. And I love their sessions, the best sessions that I had during the conference.
Absolutely.
It was awesome. Awesome. So I'm here with Jessie because Jessie is doing her thing as a consultant, getting out there, starting, trying to make a name for herself. And you know that this show is about telling educators to make their money. Go start that side hustle. Don't give your genius away for free. Even though you may be an MIE or a Google innovator or a Schoology ambassador or pioneer or what have you, get paid. Don't let these people see you all over the country and presenting with a t-shirt, no check. We got to get paid. So Jessie, I hope I didn't get you in trouble for that. For those who will be watching on YouTube and listening on SoundCloud or iTunes, will you please introduce yourself?
Sure. So I am Jessie Boyce. I teach 6th grade math in St. Pete, Florida. I've been teaching for 10 years, 5 in Pittsburgh and then 5 in Florida when I finally got sick of the cold weather and moved down to the warm.
Okay. Florida.
Yes.
Yes, I'm in Mississippi. Spent some cold times myself in Boston.
Oh, yeah.
It was cold and it was expensive and it was time to go. Though I've told my wife, if somebody got $125,000 on the table, I'm out, except for New York.
You could not pay me to go back to the cold weather.
I would. Let somebody in Pittsburgh call me. Will, we got a check for $125,000. When do you need me? Because I'm there.
I'd pass it.
That's enough money to buy me some sweaters. So you're consulting, and we've been chit-chatting on Twitter a little bit. How would you describe your role as a consultant, and what made you decide to create a side hustle?
So I originally started a side hustle for a couple of reasons. Number one being that my husband and I were super active in paying off all of our debt. We actually paid off $147,000 in the past 3 years, which is very exciting for us. So most of that was student loans and everything. So I just needed another stream of income coming in because we were very aggressively paying those loans off. But then secondly, I'm so passionate, and I am a type of person that if I love something, you are going to know it. So when I find these products or strategies or whatever that work really well in my classroom, and when I can truly feel that they have transformed my educational practices, I can't keep quiet about it. I have to tell as many people. And so I was doing that a lot, but then all of these different opportunities arose for me to actually make money while I was doing that, which is a beautiful thing. So I do a lot of trainings. I freelance for some companies, and then this is still totally for free, but usually. But I like to help people plan their classrooms. So I'm really big in flexible seating, and I've kind of made a name for myself with that. And so people contact me a lot asking for opinions and helping them out. And that is because I just love it. And eventually, of course, I would love to be more of a consultant on that as well. But that piece, at least, I'm just kind of doing because I love having those conversations.
Okay. I know you love it, but it's time to put a price tag on it. You don't have to charge people a lot of money, but you could create a community. They have to pay to get into the community and share all you want.
Yeah.
Okay, let's not leave money on the table. Now, you blew my mind. So before I ask you this second question, I got to go there because you blew my mind that you said you paid off $147,000. Now, in Mississippi, $147,000 is a great house. It's not a good house. It is a great house. Marble, okay?
Oh, wow.
High-end fixtures. You're doing it. You're house hunterish. How in the heck, if you don't mind sharing, how did you pay off $147,000?
So we're very strict about budgeting, very strict. And we sold one of our cars, and any dollar that came in went straight to debt, non-negotiable, any dollar. Which sounds crazy, but it almost became kind of fun to just be seeing those numbers go down. And so I took on a lot of stuff, any of these side hustles in education, but then also I am a baker. So any wedding cakes I would make or anything like that, every single thing. I was tutoring on the side. I mean, I probably had 6 different side hustles going on at one time. And any bonuses that he would get from work. When I won Teacher of the Year for my county this past year, and I got a check for that. That money went straight to it. It's just every little thing that we could, just to watch those numbers roll down. So,
wow, I like that, people. I love that.
Yeah.
And it is so wonderful because, I've done podcast shows on finances and talking about debt management and insurance and those things. And I'm glad you brought that up and talking about it because on average, our salaries are low, especially when you compare our level of education to other people, because there are a lot of teachers out there who have master's degrees and above. And whereas in other fields, that master's degree, you could be a director or something making super money. You could still be in the classroom with that master's degree and only get a minimum bump.
That's me.
Get a minimum bump of your salary.
I realized after I got my master's degree that it would take me 15 years of classroom teaching to break even.
Woo! Yeah. Look, I don't want to tell you this, but you might want to leave the classroom. And I hate telling educators to leave, but the reality is, and I know none of us enter this field to get rich. But there does come a time in which you have to look at your lifestyle and the life you want to live and ask yourself, can I still make the same sort of contribution? It might not be the exact contribution, but make that same sort of contribution by maybe I'm going to go work for Microsoft to become a trainer and be there to tell people when they're developing these apps and software as a classroom teacher, this is not going to work. You want to do this. Does it mean I'm going to become a full-time consultant? Does it mean that I'm going to become an author and write? But at some point, we got to get real about our finances. Are we going to have a great life, or are we going to live paycheck to paycheck?
Exactly right.
All right. So tell us about the work you do. And out of all of the things that you could be doing with your time, why consult?
Well, that's actually easy. So like I said, if I'm passionate about something, you're going to know it. And so I just love to share the knowledge that I have. I feel like it's selfish to not share when you find something that you love. So I work for a company where I train Microsoft. It's like a third party through Microsoft. And I do trainings for them, which is called Ed to the Max. I freelance for Kahoot, writing Kahoots for them. I have a course on Participate coming out this month. I think that's it. Yeah.
Ooh, hustle. She's a hustler, baby.
Absolutely.
Oh, Jessie.
Oh, and I blog too. That's not profitable yet, but it will. We'll get there.
I'm so excited. I mean, you're just doing baking too. You're just doing it all.
Yeah. I'm really busy.
Doing it all. So I know I didn't ask you this question. Well, give it to you beforehand, but I want to ask you, do you have a mentor? Is there someone in the field who's consulting that you've been able to speak with, who's been able to provide you some guidance, give you feedback, and kind of point you in a direction to assist you as you're making this move?
Of course. So I'm really lucky of the family that I found on Twitter. And so anytime I am concerned and not really sure what to do, I'll reach out. I actually know a ton of consultants. And so even just a little while ago, I was texting one of them, okay, what am I supposed to charge for this? And how do I do this? And just, I have a really good network of people that I know have been there and have gone through it, that have done it full time, have done it part-time, whatever, but I always have someone that I can go to and that I feel comfortable with going to. I think that that's the biggest piece. You just have to put yourself out there,
And since you kind of brought up the pricing situation, and I'm not going to ask you what you charge, but when all of us start out doing free, whether it's presenting at conferences or EdSurge reaches out to us and say, hey, can you write this blog post? It's just par for the course. When did you know that it was time to start charging for the work that you were doing? And was it a difficult decision for you to actually come to terms with it? Or was it just easy? Because I know a lot of us have problems in the field for some reason talking about money.
Of course we do. Money is so taboo, right? That's what we're taught. I think that teachers in general too are so used to being overworked and underappreciated and just expecting to go above and beyond. So we kind of are stuck in that piece and wanting to share, but it's like kind of awkward because if you ask for money, then you're greedy. It's this weird thing where I feel like it's the only profession that is like that. Anyone else, if they're offering input, they're going to be putting a fee out there. I want to say, I don't even know, maybe like a year ago or so. It was really interesting. At ISTE last year, I kept finding myself in situations where I felt like I wasn't actually supposed to be there, but I somehow stumbled upon, I'm like, hey, everyone, and just meeting all of these people. But it ended up being this thing where I was networking like crazy, and you could see the value in all of those meetings. And so even, like I said, I freelance for Kahoot. I somehow had this ticket for Kahoot happy hour, and I'm thinking it's one of the big parties that everyone has, whatever. And I got there and there was only 12 people there, and it was like the staff of Kahoot. And I don't know why I ended up with a ticket, but it led to these really amazing conversations. And then they're like, hey, we value your input. And then they emailed me later and they're like, we want you actually to write for us. And it just kind of was about not being afraid and being okay. So it wasn't me deciding, hey, I'm going to start charging for things. It was someone coming to me and saying, I'm willing to pay you for this, that kind of made me realize, wait a second here, it's okay to accept money for knowledge. And so then even when I started training with Microsoft too, it was that I was already doing it. I was training everyone that I could, but then they said, hey, we want you to work for our company and train. And then I realized, and so then I reached out to my district and I'm like, look, I'm doing trainings for you. I want to be paid for those trainings. And they said yes. And it was kind of this moment of like, oh, wait a second. People value that, and it's okay to ask to be paid for your time.
Woo! If I had one of them old church fans with my little candy on, I'd be doing this right now. Oh, Jessie, you brought it home. You brought it home with that, because we need to be valued. Our time need to be valued.
Right. And
we must be respected enough for our genius. And I'm not saying you need to charge folk $10,000 for you to come do this keynote. Whatever you charge is what you charge.
I would do it for $10,000 though. If someone's offering, if someone listening is offering, I'll do that.
Hey, I'm not saying no. I'm just saying that, whatever you're comfortable with, I say go for that. But what I do say is just don't do it for free, especially if they're coming to you
Mm-hmm.
and they're saying, hey, we hear you doing this. Would you come do that for us? And at that point, it's like, well, where's my check?
Right.
Oh, okay. Woo. So being that some of the work in the companies that you're doing for, these are some major players, and they have, plenty of people who will don the Microsoft logo, the MIE, and all these things. Mm-hmm. How did you discover where you fit in as a consultant? And what have you done to differentiate yourself mm-hmm. from other people who may present on some of the same subjects or software tools?
I really feel like, honestly, it was kind of a natural fit. I've been a teacher from the time I was 10 years old, just that love for learning, but also love for sharing. And that these were all things that I was doing anyway. And it just kind of, it's weird, but it just kind of fit together. But I think that something that does differentiate myself is it comes back to that passion. I mean, I've been told when I'm excited about something, like I light up and just want to, well, let me tell you why this is going to change your life. And, I just I want to sit and delve in for things that have greatly impacted me. I want other people to be able to experience that.
Okay. Now, since you're so, I want to throw this out there to you because look, we can't be all things to everyone. How do you decide? And I understand in the beginning, a check is a check. How do you decide, or how do you go about looking at your target market, the people that you want to work with or best fit the work you do? Yeah. I mean, that's for me. It's because, I can do a Google training for anyone. Now, that doesn't mean that school district or that conference or that whatever would be the best fit for me, or I will even be at my best because it's not where I need to be. So how do you decide who you should work with or what environment works best for you?
It's only things that fit with what I need, which sounds kind of weird, but what I mean is that I couldn't do a Google training. And if, I only will do consulting for things that I care about, because I think that that's really important. Authenticity comes across when, goodness, I've been in so many trainings that I'm like, oh, they're following a script and they're just saying what they're supposed to say. But if it's something that I truly, truly believe in, it's natural for me. That answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
What you feel. So how have you found the job market to be for consultants? And how do you decide which strategies would form the foundation of your services, right? So for me, I am all about connection and digital and learning anytime, anywhere, whenever. So whatever I do has to align with those things. Right. So how did you sort of say, my practice as a consultant would be based, this is the foundation of it. Mm-hmm. And how do you decide how you will deliver that?
I've found the market it kind of depends on where I am. So sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, this market is crazy saturated. There's consultants everywhere. And that's when I'm at ISD or at some other Edtech place, and then I am at a school district and I realize that it seems nowhere. So I guess it's just kind of like seeing where that need is and kind of fitting into that spot. So for instance, when I approached my county and I was like, look, we have this need that we have these products that nobody knows how to use. I am an expert at them. Allow me to train people. It just kind of they don't have consultants coming in every day. So it was just kind of, I see it being saturated and I see it being totally empty at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yep.
And that's where I was a few years ago. Before I ever entered the EdTech world, I didn't even know that that was a thing. It's really interesting because always my path was going to be classroom and then administration. That has always been what I wanted to do. And then I somehow ended up at an ed camp and like saw the ed tech world, and my eyes, the scales fell from my eyes, and I realized that, oh my gosh, I am going to go on a completely different path. I want nothing to do with administration now. And I realized that this is where my heart is. And I guess that kind of is where the foundation for my services come in too, because I am such a person who wants to get better and better and better so that I can better serve educators as well.
Nice. I like that. And I think EdTech is going to change education in ways that administration is not prepared for and does not want to.
Correct.
It's going to be a situation like with certain companies that the technology moved in and they were kind of like, we do something totally different. And then they found themselves either on the back end or closing because they didn't keep up. And absolutely. I think at some point, the technology is going to push itself in K through 12 and higher ed to the point to where if they don't change, that they're going to find themselves outdated to the point to where people will start creating new ways to new schools, and they're going to some public schools and areas are going to be like, what are we doing? What happened? We used to be thriving, and you won't be that way because you didn't keep up.
Yep, you're exactly right.
I'm loving this. So I wish I could charge people, but you know what I'm saying? Because
maybe I should be charging you, right?
You know what? You should, but. And that's the one thing I am, because I tell people, and I have thought about this. I tell people, don't get away for free, but I never pay my guests ever. And I wish I could, but I'm hoping that one day I can get to that point where I can,
of course,
pay the guests because I just, what I love about doing this show is being able to speak to people like yourself, share your knowledge, get people excited about what they're doing. And for those who are saying, you know what, I do some training and I do some presenting, I might need to try this thing, that they take just one step. If you take one step and you don't like it, fine. But I really don't want people to sit there and go to work, go home, go to work, go home, go to work, go home, put in their 25, their 30, get their check, and finally go, I want to live my life.
Right.
You just worked 30 years of humdrumness.
Exactly. Too late at that point.
Too late. I want you to live a fulfilled, exciting life.
Absolutely.
Now.
Yep.
Oh, man. All right. So what has been the biggest challenge you've encountered as a consultant?
People valuing my time, and that includes myself. So it goes back to how I was saying that, we're so quick to spend extra time and extra effort because that's just kind of ingrained in who we are as educators, weekends and evenings and staying late at work and coming in early and not being thanked. And it's just kind of part of it. It's a really unfortunate reality, but it is what it is. And so I think whenever making that transition to realizing that I personally have to value my own time, but then having to ask other people, putting a price on things is so hard. And even, when I started my bakery 10 years ago, that was something, I started making cakes for my friends and this and that. And then I realized, okay, I'm putting in X amount of hours. I need to be charging for that. And that was an easier transition for me. But I relate it to the same thing because it is literally the same thing. Okay, you're putting in this amount of time. There should be payment for that. But it's so hard to have those conversations with people.
But have them.
Yes, but it's important. It's hard, but it's important.
Have them, because I do. If someone, and I put certain things in two categories. If someone reaches out to me, and this is an opportunity for me to build a relationship with this organization, and I feel that this is going to turn into money, and I will initiate the conversation about money, so I don't need them to. But if I feel like this is a relationship, they're investing in me, and Schoology is one of those companies where, after I became an ambassador, they wholeheartedly invested in me. Mm-hmm. And they were a key part to me being where I am now, because when Tech Edge magazine, their editor reached out to them and said, we want to do a story on learning management systems and Schoology in particular, their people said, you need to interview Dr. Will. Yeah. Schoology didn't have to do that.
Right.
But once they said that and that interview went well, that person then reached back to me and said, will you come write an article for us for free? Not for free, but for a fee. Right. And so from there, I wrote another article for them for a check. Mm-hmm. And then that turned in for me writing for other people for money. And so now I don't write for free.
Well, because once you realize that people are willing to value you, you kind of you have to make that decision. It's only natural.
Yes. Well, I just figure that my article, whether it goes to their magazine or to their blog, it is marketing content for them. Right. Because all they're going to do is turn around and say, blah, 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 buy our product, or our product is able to do this. So if I'm going to be a marketing tool, you have marketing dollars.
Exactly right.
I want my check. I don't, I'm just not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to be used for you to make money, but I get nothing.
Right. Good.
You should be doing the same thing.
I'm working on it.
So before we go, what is your advice to those teachers? They're interested in consulting. They're interested in creating that side hustle, but like a lot of educators, in their mind, they're thinking for them to charge for a lesson plan, or for them to, because they're already presenting at conferences. So for them to start charging conferences a fee, or for them to kind of create a website and say, look, I can come to your school and do these many sessions or whatever for a fee. For them, doing that sort of goes against their thinking of what an educator is, because they're thinking we're noble people, noble profession. We're here for the students. We're not here for ourselves. You know what I'm saying? We're not here for the money. What advice you have for them to get them to sort of think bigger, and for them to understand that you can still make the impact and the income? There's no either or, both can coexist.
Right. Whenever you said that we kind of have this mentality of we're not here for the students, or I'm sorry, we're not here for ourselves, we're here for the students. But I feel like if you're not here for yourself, then you can't be there for the students, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So my big advice would be just not to sell yourself short. And I'm talking to myself as I say this. I recently had a situation where someone was in a tight spot and they needed someone to present at a conference. And so my name was given to her. So we were talking and they were asking how much I charge. And when I told them how much, it was like, never mind, we're good. And there was no negotiation or anything. And, if I had volunteered to go on that trip at that point, I'm sure that they still would have been like, absolutely, go ahead, because yes, it's a great experience. But I didn't offer, which was a really interesting lesson for me of, what I'm being told right now, that maybe my time is not that important to these people. And I was going to be traveling halfway across the country and back in a day. And I was going to rearrange my entire schedule and previous commitments on all of these things. So, I asked for a substantial amount of money in my opinion, but I'm sure I don't know. I was nervous and kind of sad because I felt like maybe I came across as greedy, and I like felt guilty, actually would be the better word for it. But I reached a point where I have to realize that that's okay. It's okay to ask for compensation for your time. It's okay to realize that, you know, this was a last minute situation and I was probably going to spend hours preparing for it the day before and just all of these things. And so it really just comes to, you have to value yourself. You have to value your time. I'm so sick of teachers just in general staying until 8 o'clock at night at work because they feel like they have to. And that's not healthy and that's not beneficial to the students. So I just think in this scenario specifically, when it comes to consulting, is just not being afraid to ask, because, okay, the worst that happens is someone says no. So I missed this opportunity I was really excited about it, but it's okay because opportunities will be there again. Yes.
Woo! This envelope. That was fire right there. I love that. And here's another thing that I'm just going to say it. A lot of people out there who are getting paid, particularly that next level money, they don't look like us. Mm-hmm. And so for me, especially for us, I want us to make sure that not only do we get paid, but we get paid fair market value. That is not a point where they reached out to this one person that we all know on Twitter, and then that person said, I'm booked. And maybe they offer that person, $5,000, but then they say, our names pop up, and then they go, oh, $2,500. Right. And we're like, yes. Right. Instead of us knowing, no, I'm going to need this, right. Especially if you offer that person that. And that's another thing that I want us as entrepreneurs to do. You don't need to get in detail about your money because your money is your personal business. But I want more of us to be talking to each other and giving ballpark figures of the money that we're making, our rates and we're being offered, so that conferences and organizations cannot do that, where they cannot lowball individuals because
it's a conversation that needs to happen.
That we don't know what we should be making because of this other individual.
Right. Right. Because I'm like, I don't know, $20, that seems good when that's not, I think that sometimes too, I equate with those big names that, I've spent some time talking to some of those people. I know their figures, but they also are very cutthroat. And I'm not that way. And so it seems scary. I don't want to package myself as this person who's like, well, here's what I'm worth and but it's okay to do that. I can do it with a smile on my face and say, here's what I'm worth. And I know that. So take it or leave it. And that's okay.
For sure. Because, here's the thing about it. And I don't know about your school district, but I only have so many personal days that I can use. Right. So if I go beyond those days and they allow me to go beyond those days, that means I'm not getting paid for that day. Right. So if I'm not going to get paid for that day, that means you're going to make up for the money I didn't make. Like I'm getting paid, not only for my time, I'm getting paid for that. Mm-hmm. And so it's just awesome. I'm telling you, I was going to hold this episode because I've already posted 7 episodes this month. I was going to hold it, but I can't hold it. This got to come out. I love this. And thank you so much, Jessie, for coming on the show. Are you on Voxer?
I am. It is Jess, JESSXBO. Same as my Twitter handle.
You need to be in the Teacherpreneurvoxer group. Okay. All right. Yeah. So DM me your Voxer name so I can add you to the group. Yeah. And in that group, there's Dr. Sarah Thomas.
Love her.
And Val Lewis and Brian Romero and Dr. Tatul and a bunch of us who are Alyssa Frazier, we're consulting, we're writing, we're doing all of these things. So in the group, we're cheering each other on, we're sharing information, we're trying to, again, build something as a group so that the information is shared and that we're not, again, being lowballed or not being offered an opportunity because you don't know how to play the game. Right. So we're in there. And I'm going to have Dr. Sarah on the show Friday morning.
She's amazing.
Ooh, is she making next level? So I definitely want to have her on and have her share the gems and how she actually got to this point.
Yeah.
And so it's awesome. Thank you again, Jessie.
Can I tell y'all about my blog too? So that way,
feel free, share away.
Yeah. So my flexible seating Edtech stuff is whoneedsdesks.com. And then this is not related to education, but because we talked finance, mindfulmoneyhabits.com is our other site. So.
Wow. Okay, this is what I would do. Jessie is going to send me, you know how I do this, people. I'm going to get her information, and I'm going to put that information on the post. So when you go to SoundCloud or you go to my blog, you'll be able to click those links and go there. So folks, thank you for watching this episode. This podcast would not be anything without you. And I thank everyone for riding with me when I switched from Edtech to this money stuff, because I believe in educating the whole teacher. And you don't need another Edtech podcast from me. So I decided, let's all make this money. And this is going up on YouTube. This is going up on SoundCloud. I need you to go to iTunes and subscribe. Give your boy 5 stars. I'm trying to get Oprah on this show. And I want her to know I'm doing big things around here. So people, you know how I do this. As always, invest in you. EDU. Peace. Thank you, Jessie.
No problem. Bye.